Well, welcome to the journey. My name is Kevin Polkey, and I am the host of the journey. And today we are wrapping up the month of May. This is the last week of the month of May, and is noted the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. As we talked at the beginning of the month, it is not just the month of May that we need to be thinking about exercising and developing our mental health. It is throughout the entire year. We talked about that looking at the difference between mental illness, which is more categorized from a psychiatric diagnosis, and the developing of mental health, separating from the idea of someone having a physical illness, which would be part of a medical condition, and then taking care of their physical health is the parallel that I'm attempting to draw from the difference between mental illness from a psychiatric standpoint, such as generalized anxiety disorder, major depression, bipolar schizophrenia, to just name a few, and the idea of developing your mental health to the best of your ability to be able to regulate your emotions, be able to reframe the narrative that you're telling yourself. If you have experienced trauma, being able to take that, what tends to be the trauma tends to elicit shame, and then as well it elicit this secretiveness and the silence that surrounds that, to have the courage to be able to seek out individuals who can hold that space for you and be able to talk about not only the trauma that may have happened with an event, but then the narrative that you may have been telling yourself as a result of experiencing that trauma. And that could have happened earlier in your life. It could have happened even when you didn't have an actual physical memory, but you notice that your response to it is that fight or flight type of response. We also talked about this idea of exercising all four aspects of our life: physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, like we associate physical development. And I was listening to someone just recently talking about this idea and rethinking Adam Grant, from his podcast and work of rethinking this idea that he had regarding confidence. He talked about an experience of being afraid of heights and being a diver, and that he was going to go and do a particular uh, dive that he had never done before. And he was extremely nervous about it and was, as he described, almost uh, paralyzed in the state of fear of not doing the dive correctly, though he had never done it before. Uh, he remembers his coach asking him, what did he want to do? And he says, I want to be able to do this dive. And he goes, uh, at some point in the future, he wants to be able to do this dive. And then the coach yelled up to him on the platform and said, what are you waiting for? And it was then that he realized that he had it backwards, that confidence comes from taking steps of action. Our confidence doesn't come before we've attempted or done something. It only comes as a result of having done something and moving toward being able to accomplish whatever that thing is that we have. The idea is that confidence is a byproduct of action. And for me, I think that makes resonates throughout my life. The things that I'm more comfortable with doing now and appears to be more confident in doing are things that I've done numerous times, regardless if it's pushing toward our 400th episode of the journey, or public speaking, or starting a business. Doesn't mean that I don't have uh, some concerns or some nerves about not wanting to mess up or wanting to do a good job. But because I've done those things numerous times, there is a level of familiarity, which comes comfort, and then a byproduct of that is confidence. So that was another thing when I think of this idea of how do we improve our mental health, identifying the story that we're telling ourselves or the narrative, as well as being able to reframe that, or maybe have, as Adam Grant talked about, rethinking our perspective on that particular narrative that we're telling ourselves. When I think of wrapping up this particular month of mental health awareness, I want to end with this particular post that I did earlier today. I don't think people realize how much strength it takes to pull yourself out of a dark place mentally. So if you've done that today or any day, I'm proud of you. Let me read that again. I don't think people realize how much strength it takes to pull yourself out of a dark place mentally. So if you've done that today or any day, without a doubt, I I honor you for the courage it takes to do that. I'm proud of you for taking that step, knowing how scary it is to pull yourself out of that silence and that darkness. But that's how we um, move toward that light. That's how we then later can use that to model for others. So going into the month of June, hopefully we learn some things about ourselves that we can carry over and continue building on developing our mental health throughout the year. As always, I appreciate you being here and look forward to you being with you next week.